I'm 80 years old, and I only recently noticed how quiet my house has become. Not the peaceful kind of quiet people talk about, the kind that settles in and doesn't leave. I've been sitting with that silence a lot, long enough that it started talking back to me. And what it's been saying isn't flattering. It's been honest, too honest to ignore anymore. I'm not telling this because I need understanding or forgiveness. I'm telling it because I don't have much time left to pretend I understand my own life. If I don't, most mornings now, I wake up before the sun. Not because I'm eager, but because my body won't let me sleep. I make coffee I don't really enjoy anymore, and sit at the table where 5 chairs used to be full. I only need 1 now, sometimes 2, if I'm feeling hopeful enough to imagine someone might stop by. I think a lot about who I was supposed to be, and who I became instead. When I was younger, people would have described me as reliable, dependable, the one you could count on. I wore that like a badge. I liked being needed. I liked being the answer when someone asked, "Who can take care of this?" I didn't realize then that I was slowly disappearing inside that role. In my 20s, I got married and took a job I didn't love, but understood. It paid steadily. It came with responsibility. People shook my hand and told me I was doing the right thing. That mattered to me more than I want to admit now. I told myself passion was for people with safety nets. I told myself someone had to be practical. I told myself I'd figure out who I was later, when things calmed down. They never really did. My days filled up quickly. Work in the morning, errands after, fixing things on weekends, saying yes when I wanted to say no, because someone else needed me. I became very good at being useful, so good that nobody noticed I was tired, including me. I don't remember making a decision to put myself last. It happened in pieces, small ones, a missed dinner here, a postponed trip there, conversations cut short because something else was more urgent. I remember my wife once asking me, "What do you want?" I laughed and said, "A day off." She didn't laugh. I didn't know how to answer that question, honestly. I still don't, most days. In my 30s and 40s, life looked successful from the outside. Promotions, a bigger house, people asking for advice. I was always in demand, always on call, always busy. But I stopped noticing things. I didn't notice when my kids stopped asking me to play and started asking if I was working late. I didn't notice how conversations with my wife became logistical. Groceries, bills, schedules. We were running a household, not sharing a life. I told myself this was normal, that this was what adulthood looked like, that closeness would return when things slowed down. I was wrong about that too. The cost didn't arrive all at once. It never does. It showed up quietly, in empty seats at school events, in birthdays remembered late, in friends I kept meaning to call back. I'd tell myself, next week, or when things ease up, or they understand. Maybe they did, for a while. I didn't fail dramatically. That's the part that's hardest to explain. I didn't collapse. I didn't lose everything. I just kept choosing responsibility over presence, again and again, until it became a habit I didn't know how to break. The first real crack came when my father died. I was in my late 40s. I flew in the night before the funeral, exhausted and distracted. Standing by his casket, I realized I didn't know him very well. Not the adult him. Not the man he became after raising us. That scared me, not because of him, but because I saw myself in that future. A man who provided, but wasn't known. I told myself I'd change. I meant it. But change requires space, and I didn't know how to make any. Years passed. My kids grew up. They moved out. My wife and I learned how to move around each other politely, carefully, like roommates who shared a long history, but not much else. We weren't cruel. We weren't dramatic. We were just distant. And distance, when left alone long enough, becomes permanent. The turning point didn't come with a speech or a revelation. It came with a hospital room that smelled like disinfectant and fear. My wife was sick, suddenly, terribly sick. I sat beside her bed, holding her hand, realizing how many conversations we had postponed, how many truths we had swallowed to keep things running smoothly. She looked at me one evening and said very calmly, "I don't think you ever let yourself be known." I wanted to argue, to defend myself, to list all the ways I'd shown up, but lying there, fragile and tired, she wasn't accusing me. She was observing me, and she was right. She passed away a few weeks later. There are no words for the kind of regret that arrives after someone is gone. It's not loud. It doesn't shout. It sits with you. It waits. It shows you moments you can't revisit and questions you can't ask anymore. After the funeral, people told me I was strong, that I'd been a good husband, that she was lucky to have me. I nodded. I thanked them. And I went home to a house that felt unfamiliar, like I'd been renting it all along, and was finally alone in it. That's when the silence really started. Retirement came not long after. I thought it would feel like freedom, like relief. Instead, it felt like being let go from a role I'd practiced my whole life.
No one needed me the way they used to. The phone stopped ringing. The days stretched out, unstructured and unforgiving. Without obligations, I didn't know who I was. I tried hobbies. I tried volunteering. I tried staying busy. But without the pressure of being needed, everything felt optional. And I had never learned how to choose for myself. I realized then that I had spent decades earning my place in other people's lives without ever claiming one in my own. Some relationships couldn't be repaired. My kids love me, I know that. But they built lives without me at the center. I wasn't absent, I was just peripheral, reliable, background. Time doesn't reverse for regret. It just moves forward without you, if you let it. At 80, I understand now that being needed is not the same as being known, and usefulness is not the same as connection. I don't blame my younger self. He did what he thought was right. He believed sacrifice would be noticed. He believed there would be time later. There's almost never later. If you're listening to this and you're younger than me, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I don't have instructions. I only have a truth that took me a lifetime to see. If you don't make space to ask who you are, someone else will decide for you. And one day that role will end, and you'll be left holding a quiet you don't recognize. Presence feels inefficient. It doesn't produce much. It doesn't impress anyone. But it's where life actually happens. I wish I'd known that being needed can be a comfortable hiding place, and that comfort, over time, can cost you your voice. These days, I'm learning myself slowly, in small ways. I take walks without mukjok. I sit with memories without trying to fix them. I let conversations wander. I allow silence without filling it. I won't become someone new at this age. That's not realistic. But I can become someone more honest. If this meant something to you, maybe sit with it for a moment before moving on. You don't have to change your life. Just notice where you're postponing yourself. As for me, I don't know how much time I have left. I know it's less than I think. And that's okay. I'm not trying to make up for lost years. I'm just trying to be here for the ones that remain. Even if it's quiet. Even if it's late. This is who I am. Finally learning to listen.